Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, today's a little bit of a different format. I'm usually outside sitting on my front porch or back porch, but today we are doing it inside. I decided to just do it this way because you guys know, if you are not new here, that I have a daughter and it's easier for me to record my videos actually inside instead of outside, because then she's outside roaming around and I kind of just let her free roam, and I can keep a better eye on her, like when she's just in the next room, and she'll probably come in here throughout this video, but right now she's eating. Anyways, so today we are ranking the boys of Love Island season 7. And you guys know I've already talked about how toxic this season has been during the show, but also after the show. We've talked about that. That's in the last video. Go check out my ranking every girls in the most toxic season of Love Island. However, today there's been a new update, okay? And this update is not from this season but from last season. So in between the time of me filming the last video and this video, Janae and Kenny from last season have broke up, or at least that's what we're speculating online, because they haven't necessarily addressed it yet. I will include this screenshot that I saw under Leah's post where she's somewhat confirming that, you know, she's protecting her girl Janae at all costs, which means that Kenny did something dirty, and I really want to know what it is. A lot of fans are speculating that he cheated on her because basically they were all together. The whole group was together at some sort of event or party, and it was captured on both of their Snap stories, and then somewhat the next day, somewhat between that time and the next day, they just were unfollowing each other, and Janae was removing all of her pictures together with Kenny and removed him from her bio. So something clearly happened at that party or after that party. And as of today, July 28th, 2025, some people are even speculating that Kenny may have put hands on Janae, and I really hope that is not the case. I can't speak for Kenny on behalf of Kenny, but I hope that someone comes out and says what happened before fans get to speculating and taking another, just toxic spin on everything, and turning themselves where they don't really know what's going on, and that can really ruin someone's life. So I'm hoping that Janae or Kenny can come out with a statement and just tell us what happens before these toxic fans go running wild. And now, you know what? We're just gonna get straight into the video. So I want to say we have the exact same tiers that we were working with last video. I'm just gonna go ahead and explain that again. Here are the tiers. The first tier is absolute bombshell, and those are the people that we know are the best people on the show. Either they are both good looking, but they also have a great personality, and I enjoyed them on my screen. Second, we have love ya, but it's complicated. These are the people that I honestly really love or really want to love, but there are some character flaws in their personality that we see on the screen. I want to preface that. Once again, I say this in all of my ranking videos and reality TV videos. This is strictly based off of what I've seen on the screen. Okay. Third ranking is let me pull you for a chat, babe. These are the people that weren't doing anything exceedingly good, weren't doing anything exceedingly bad, but they're kind of like in between. So I'm putting them here. My head's been turned. These are the people that I kind of had to look at like, what are you doing? Literally, what are you doing? Get off my screen. I really don't enjoy watching you, because the characteristics that you're exhibiting on this show is not it for me. Next, we have who? And these are the people who kind of are like, I forgot that you even existed. And, even if they are somewhat good, like good people, I'm sure they all are, just they weren't really given much screen time, so there's not really much to discuss surrounding their character. Now let's get straight into it. Starting once again with the category absolute bombshell. This goes to Elan. Once again, I know there were some controversial things going on outside of the show about what his political ideals and beliefs were regarding the war Look, I have no clue, like genuinely, if that is true, if that is fake, or what is going on. But what I do know is what I seen on the screen, and I liked Elan. I thought that he was good for Sierra. I honestly thought like Elan and whoever was Sierra was with was kind of interchangeable. Whether that be have been Elan or Nick, they both would have been a good suit for Sierra, and it really seemed like he really liked her. And even when Nick was tripping, you guys know, well, actually, you guys don't know because I haven't talked about it yet. But I actually really like Nick. I liked him on the screen so much this season. He was one of my favorite boys, if not my favorite boy on this season. And as much as I liked Nick, he did have a little moment there when he was kind of going at my boy Elan. And I was like, I don't know if he deserves that, honey. I think you're misdirecting your anger here. I don't really think he was misdirecting it. Actually, I just thought it was kind of like, you have like the right to feel the way that you feel about situations, but how do you handle it? And honestly, I think that's what our problem is most of the time on these shows. Is not why they feel mad about something or that they feel mad about it. It's just how they go about it. And in that moment, I was like, Nick, Elan didn't deserve all that smoke from you, honey. And I thought that Elan handled that phenomenally. And for that, and that reason only. Oh, and the fact that, you know, he kind of didn't get chosen in the recoupling when they came back from Casa. And I was like, I feel like someone should have picked him. Anyways, he's going in my absolute bombshell tier. Next guy who is going in the absolute bombshell tier, and that is Jalen. So I know a lot of people had mixed emotions about Jalen for whatever reason at the beginning. I think because they just thought like he kind of looked like he was too old to be on the show. But I'm like, okay, he's still like a nice dude. He seems to be real put together, and it was so sweet how much he was like saying that this was his first time even being out of the country. He got his passport to be on the show, and something about that was so genuine and sweet. And he just seemed like a kind, gentle soul who was really truly looking for love and was like new to this whole like, you know, just being in front of the camera, because a lot of people on this season were influencers already or had some sort of platform or trying to build their platform. And there were only few people far in between that were actually here just to genuinely go through the process of potentially finding love. And I thought Jalen was one of those people. And I also thought that he should have stayed on the island. And he honestly, his time in there was so short. Like, it was really unfortunate because I honestly thought the Islanders did him dirty. He should have stayed on that island, and Huda should not have been given a second chance. She just really shouldn't have. So actually a third chance at that point. I think that was her third chance that she was given. So next, now this is a little bit, because originally I had him in my who tier. But then I really thought about it and I was like, Serenity, don't do him like that. Do not do him like that. So Charlie is moving up to my absolute bombshell, and here's why. So when he was on the show, I really, really liked Charlie. Once again, some people might find him boring because he wasn't really bringing so much drama or whatnot. But as a potential like Love Island contestant that I've seen, like I've watched so many seasons of Love Island, and he was pretty much like the typical Love Island contestant. Like, beyond the fact that he is British. Oh, do y'all remember when Hannah was like, chip, chip, cheerio, take off my clothes, you know? I was weak. So maybe that's why like the accent reminds you of like home comfort Love Island television, when this season was just so much chaos. Like, he was the comfort in that sense. But also his personality, right? Some people had a problem with Charlie like asking the girl for a kiss at the beginning. Like, for example, he asked Shelly for a kiss whenever because the first person he pulled was Shelly when he first came in. He asked Shelly for a kiss. I think Shelly denied that kiss in a respectful way. People had a problem with that because they were like, why is he just asking for a kiss? And then he did the same thing with Hannah, asked her for a kiss, whatever. I don't have any gripes with that. In fact, that is normally how Love Island situations like build up. And we can see like for Charlie, maybe he needed to kiss whoever he was with to realize if they had attraction or not. And as you guys saw, Hannah was down with that. And him and Hannah built a connection that I said, literally roll the tapes, because that's the vibe that I get. Other than Charlie, and I'm sorry, I forgot her name, the new bombshell that just dropped in, they seem like pretty locked in for like like off the rip. They seemed like they were getting along pretty great, and they're already my favorite couple. So I don't know, like, surprise me. Maybe they'll stay my favorite couple for the whole show, but as of right now, they are my favorite couple because they seem the most genuine. They seem to actually like each other, and I'm like, that's that's how it's done. Charlie and Hannah were my favorite couple at the moment, and they were just like they were a new couple that just coupled up like the I think that same episode, and I was like, they seem genuine and real. Like they seem like they truly like each other, where everyone else is like hesitant and like doesn't really seem to know like how to express their feelings right. If they did like them, it just did not come across like they actually were a strong couple. And I could see Charlie and Hannah making it to the end. So with that being said, I truly enjoyed Charlie, and I also thought that his dumping was just unjustified. But that was just really unfortunate because, to be honest, it was it was not the Islanders' fault. It kind of was. I mostly blame America because they were so hell bent on getting Huda out of the villa, or not getting Huda out, but to basically create drama surrounding the whole Huda Jeremiah situation by pairing Iris up with Jeremiah. That backfired because who does that leave to get kicked off the island? And he seemed genuinely distraught, like he really liked Hannah. And Hannah even said throughout the show, at one point, like, I'm still thinking about Charlie. And this was like 2 weeks after Charlie even got dumped. So I was like, they might find each other outside of the villa, but it seems like that didn't happen. So that's unfortunate. But anyways, we love Charlie, absolute bombshell. Next, we have Love Ya, but it's complicated. The first person that goes in here is Nick. I told you guys I really, really love Nick. And I was debating if I should put him in the absolute bombshell because I said he is genuinely my favorite boy of this season. And here's why. So I said to my friends, because my friends watch this season with me and we have a group chat, we would always talk about it. And I always would say to my friends, like, I always agree with everything that's coming out of Nick's mouth. He seems to be genuine, and like when he says something, I always agree with it. And that's what I like to see on reality TV. Reality TV is always like basically a simulation of what happens in real life. It mimics real life, okay? So when people say it's just reality TV, no, it's kind of not. And I honestly feel like the most intelligent people watch reality TV because they're studying and they like the patterns of what you see in social interactions in the real world. It's not existent outside of real life. You get what I'm saying? And so I identified with Nick. And I typically like to identify with like a girl on the show, but this season Nick was my identifiable person. Like I said, every time he opened his mouth, I genuinely agreed with what he was saying. There were times where he would stick up for Huda, even though he wanted Huda to be gone, even though he didn't agree with her actions, there were moments where he could agree with Huda in certain ways. And that's how I am. I'm not like this person is a villain and this person is a hero. I like to see the nuance of situations. So I judge situations based off of a situation. So like if this situation is good, good. If this situation is bad, bad. It's not just everything that comes out of that person's mouth is just evil for the rest of time. Moments like where Nick was saying to Jeremiah, I lost respect for you when you did not go like just check on her after she almost got voted out of the island, and you're claiming that you really really like this girl, but the second that things are looking like rocky or whatever, you don't even give her a simple checkup. Like after she literally almost got voted off the show and other partners were comforting their people, you would think that that would, make you think, oh, okay, let me go check on my person. And you just did not do that. And Nick Voice straight up said, I lost respect for you in that moment. Um, and I think a lot of people misconstrued what Nick was really saying. Like a lot of people thought that, Nick was on the Ace train, where like a lot of people believe that Nick was kind of a follower of Ace. I personally did not see that from Nick because there were so many moments where Nick spoke his mind, or he even just disregarded what Ace had to say or checked Ace. There are multiple situations. One of them was when Olandria was supposed to go home and everyone was talking. Nick was like, hell nah, that's not happening. You're not sending Olandria home. Another time was when Ace, I forget the moment, but I'm remembering it. There was a group of people talking and discussing Huda. And Nick was basically like, look, okay, we've already talked about the Huda situation. She's correcting her, her behavior, whatever. Why are we still talking about it? And he said that straight to Ace. When Ace was complaining, this was like, who knows how many the time Ace was complaining about Huda. He said straight to Ace, uh, can we just stop talking about her? Because genuinely, like, there's no need to. Okay, she's correcting her behavior, whatever. Let's move on from it. There were so many times. Now, on the other hand, Taylor, and we will get to Taylor. Taylor seemed like more of a follower of both of them than Nick being. You know what I mean? And then also the final thing that I really, really appreciate about Nick was there were so many times where he was just straight up and honest, very like straightforward. It wasn't like he was talking back here like, oh, da 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 da, and then wouldn't say it to their face. He always said it to their face, which is what I could really appreciate about Nick. She wanted to say hi, say hi. Yeah, and so I could really appreciate about him. The next thing that he did was, but the very first thing that made me actually like, okay, Nick is a solid dude, was whenever the whole situation with Sierra and Bella. Okay, so I kind of talked about this in the girls video, but in my opinion, I thought that he wasn't really a dog for that situation. A lot of people thought it was a red flag that he kissed two girls in one night. But if I'm being so for real, it seemed like he really was invested with Bella, right? And he was really conflicted between the two. And then Sierra came along and was like really, really, really not even giving him a chance to speak in that conversation. It seemed like he was starting the conversation because he pulled Sierra for a chat, and it seemed like he was gonna tell Sierra, I'm kind of leaning towards Bella a little bit more. But Sierra never gave him a chance to speak, and she was just talking, talking, talking. Then she pulled him to the photo booth and then immediately like started like, kissing Nick. It seemed like Sierra was the initiator there, and Nick was just like, I don't really know what to do. And he was just caught in an odd situation, but you could really tell that it was weighing on him. And when he finally chose Sierra in the end, he genuinely looked so like just hurt in the process because he knew he was hurting Bella. Yeah, and he even pulled her aside and had a chat after and was like, you really don't deserve this, and I hope you find someone that's better for you. And I was like, Nick's genuinely seemed like he meant that from the bottom of his heart, and he wasn't just putting on a performance. So I really appreciated that about Nick. Anyway, I feel like I said a lot about Nick, but you guys know how I feel about him. So we're just going to move on to the next person that is in the love you, but it's complicated, and that is Bryan. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, okay? I liked Bryan. I don't really have anything against Bryan as a person, but I do have just a small little inkling that he really did kind of shift towards the Amaya train because he could see that popular opinion was that Amaya was like the breakout star of the show, and a lot of fans liked her. Now, a lot of people realize that after the America challenge, where America voted and then the Islanders had to stand wherever America voted them for, and the Islanders, you could see the gears turning of those boys when they realized that Amaya was a fan favorite. In fact, Ace almost had a heart attack because he was like, "Uh-oh, America must not like me because clearly Amaya is like the breakout star, and I've been speaking against her this whole time." You could see him literally having a mental crisis in his head during that challenge. And Bryan seemed to be a little bit more open to getting to know Amaya after that as well. So did Zack, who literally clearly curbed Amaya before that, but we'll talk about that. We'll get to that. So it's a little bit iffy because I feel like Bryan got saved because of the one moment where he spoke up for Amaya, which he did. And I thought that was really commendable because those three men coming at Amaya at that what was it called? Stand on Business challenge. Yeah. Those three men coming at her and then Bryan coming in and speaking up was amazing. I love that he was able to do that. However, I feel like a lot of people are using that one moment to say that he genuinely liked Amaya before that, when honestly I think he was just saying, well, that's just what we do in our culture. That's just what we do in our culture. You know what I mean? It's not like he was defending her on a very like deeper level of how she is as a person, if that makes sense. Commendable, but I don't know if that warrants that he's like really, really likes Amaya, okay? Also, just reading their body language and stuff when they are together, it doesn't seem like he doesn't like her. Because I think he does. It just doesn't seem like he's as invested in Amaya as Amaya is invested in him. And that makes me a little bit hesitant about his true intentions of really sticking this out with Amaya. It feels like he's kind of just riding the train of how much people love Amaya, and he gets, reap those benefits because he's coupled up with her. But like, does he truly see a life with Amaya? Does he truly see that? I don't know if I buy that. And for those reasons, that's why I have to rank him. And I love you, but it's complicated because honestly, you're not a bad person. I just question if you truly are going to be like rocking with my girl Amaya like that, or if you're kind of just like, it's an ideal situation to be in. Pepe, he's the next boy in Love Ya, but it's complicated. And here's why. Pepe, all around 10 out of 10. He's good looking, he's charming, he seems like quiet and like observant of everyone. Um, but there's only one situation where I'm ranking him in the it's complicated, and that's with the whole Grayson thing. Because I did get like weird energy when he was like kind of speaking with Grayson at that stand on business. It just seemed a little bit distant and avoidant of the situation, which I didn't think she deserved. So, although I do think that Grayson kind of just, liked Pepe, and Pepe just didn't like, you know, her, and she didn't really read into that. I also think it was Pepe's job to communicate that earlier on instead of waiting until the stand on business, even though he didn't bring it up, Huda did. But that's because he was going around telling everyone that he didn't really see it with, her, and then kind of, waited to tell her that, which was kind of messed up for Pepe to do. But because he's just so great in every other area, I have nothing else to critique him on, and that's why he's in this category. All right, so the next one, let me pull you for a chat, babe. And who's in this category? Austin. We have to start off with Austin. So, Austin, all right, judging based off of purely what's on the show, Austin, I liked Austin at the beginning of the show for the most part because Austin just seemed really laid back and chill. And I kind of briefly mentioned this in a past video of mine. I think that Austin was getting the edit that he like was dumb or didn't know what he was talking about, when in reality he just wasn't really that, and there was more than Austin than we saw, but they were just editing him to look like, he didn't really know how to rub sticks together to make a fire. There were moments where other contestants were saying how much they enjoyed Austin, and Austin was their best pal. Like Olandria, Maya, Shelly, they all were like, "We love Austin." Jeremiah, but yet even Charlie, but yet we just didn't see that side of him. And I mentioned this in a past video as well, but I watched After Sun, and there was an episode where they showed pretty early on. I think it was the first After Sun episode, actually. All the boys were in the room rapping, and Austin had the best line out of all of them. It was like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible double entendre sort of thing. And even though it's just a silly little rap, I actually think that that says a lot about Austin, or, just that he was able to have the best line in there, because you need a little bit of wit, and wit means that you're smart. So I was like, okay, Austin probably has more than meets the eye, but the producers are kind of doing him dirty because, he talks a little slow like this. And so they just thought, like, okay, let's make him the dumb guy. But not too much on my girl Amaya. Okay, not too much on my girl Amaya, because it seemed like you really was just talking about how you didn't like her, and you had the opportunity to tell her that you weren't feeling it, and then you lied to her face, then continue to talk trash, and then make her feel like even more of a just idiot whenever you were on the stand on business, and you were just going in on her for what? For what? For being herself? Like, I don't understand why everyone was so like trying to get on Amaya so hard. It was just weird to me. And Austin was in that train. The next person we have is Taylor. So Taylor also goes in Let Me Pull You for a Chat, Babe. I thought Taylor was chill. He's a chill guy or whatever. But and I think he's a good person, especially outside of the show. But as like a person, or what we've seen on the show, that whole situation with Delandria, nobody can convince me otherwise that he just wasn't attracted to that girl. He kind of said it to Ace somewhat in the show, but never said it to Alandria. Was stringing her along until someone else came in. Alandria had every opportunity to go pursue it with Jalen. And although, yes, she chose to not pick Jalen. Ultimately, she was doing that because of her connection with Taylor that she thought was strong. But Taylor knew the whole time that he didn't really want her like that. So I didn't appreciate that. But despite what others say, I love his love with Kark, or his connection. I don't know if they're saying I love you yet, but they are so cute together. And as much as I didn't want to like it, I love it. And I think they had one of the best connections on this season. And don't forget, the whole reason of the show is to find love. And I genuinely think that they found it and could stay in a couple for a long time. So I have to commend Taylor on that front. But speaking of the whole, Ace is the ringleader and Nick and Taylor are Ace's followers. I do believe that Taylor is very much a follower. As much as, there was an interview where he tried to basically say that Ace wasn't nobody's leader because he's the shortest out of all of them. How is the short guy? I'm like, okay, Taylor, you're saying all this now, but during the season, you really were Ace's yes man. So it's just crazy that you're saying that. The next person is Jeremiah. And I know you guys may have forgot about Jeremiah, but I didn't. I mean, honestly, you probably didn't. How can you forget about Jeremiah? Okay. Hey, y'all. So it's been a good 3 hours since my original recording. I had to put my daughter down for a nap because, as y'all saw, she started getting a little bit fussy. And then I took a nap with her. So that's why I look a little bit bugged out. But I promise it's good. I'm okay. Did a little outfit change, had to get comfy, but we're back. And I believe I left off on Jeremiah. So here we go. Yes, let me pull you for a chat babe category along with the other boys because Jeremiah, as we know, started off in a couple with Huda, correct? And although Huda was definitely the worst out of the two, let me rephrase. She behaved on the show the worst out of the two of them. Jeremiah did have some things that I thought was definitely a little bit questionable with day one, or should I say hour one, when they were all there and the first thing that they had to do was choose two people to kiss. And then from those two people, well, okay, the girls had to choose two people to kiss. And from those two people, they would pick who they want to be in a couple with, right? And as the story goes, Huda kisses Jeremiah. That was her first decision. Then she secondly chooses Ace, right? But then ultimately she chooses to couple up with Jeremiah. And then when another girl goes to approach Jeremiah to kiss, which was Ulissa, the girl that got booted from the show, literally day one, she goes to kiss Jeremiah and he basically already hour one is like, no, you can kiss me on the cheek because I already have my girl. Dude, you come on the show to participate with the show. You know what I mean? And so at this point, it's like, okay, dude, you can at least give her the kiss and then afterwards respectfully just say that you're invested in Huda. It still would be early days, but at least give the girl a chance. The fact that you're basically rejecting her off the rip is giving Huda the false impression that you are all in her court from the second that you guys got in the couple. And so here's why at first I wasn't all just I wasn't thinking that Huda was just the only one that was tripping in this couple at first. And here's why. Because Huda and Jeremiah were coupled up from day one. Okay. So Huda never had the option. People were like, oh, well, why didn't Huda say that she was a mother from the second that they met? First of all, you just don't have to do that. I don't believe you have to say, hello, I'm Serenity and I'm a mother as soon as I meet somebody. That's something that's going to come in conversation. probably like within the first couple of like, I don't know, me introducing them and them getting to know me. I have a boyfriend, y'all, so I haven't really done this dating thing because my boyfriend is the father of my child, so I never had to do this. But I'm just saying, if I were to meet anyone out in the world, not like a potential partner, just anybody, and I'm speaking to them, I'm probably not just gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Serene and I'm mother," but it's gonna naturally come up sometime at the beginning of the conversation because yes, it is a big part of me. However, on a dating show where it's like they were already in a couple already, and Jeremiah was exhibiting that he was so locked in before even Huda was. He was the first person to initiate that strong energy. If you guys forgot about that, he was, unfortunately. Huda was like, okay, he really, really likes me. I don't want to lose him. And as much as it wasn't right for her to keep that for, I think, until like day 3, she still was in a couple with him regardless. You know what I mean? So the people that were saying, well, it's not fair for Jeremiah because Jeremiah should have been able to choose, or like should have known that she had a kid because that would have affected his decision. Did y'all forget that they were coupled up from the moment that they like kissed each other? So it would not have changed anything really if Huda told him night 1 or day 3, because they were still coupled up regardless. You guys get what I'm saying? So like, I get that argument only if they had like to wait to choose each other, but they were already chosen. You guys get what I'm saying? So, regardless, once Jeremiah heard that she was a mother, he had all the right to continue, or to say, you know what, I don't want to do it anymore. But what did Jeremiah do? He pretended like he was able to take it on, like, or maybe it's because he didn't want to be perceived in a certain way by America, or he didn't want to hurt his feelings or whatever. He clearly wasn't ready for that, but pretended like he was. And in pretending like he was seemingly like, just, it was too much for him, that he was checking out. So now she's like, oh, okay, he said that he can handle it. He's been giving me this energy from day 1. He really likes me. And then before Huda's eyes, the man is checking out. So I honestly think that's what made her crash out. Was it right? No. Like, should she have behaved that way? Literally never. Not on any planet should she have been calling people out of their name left and right. Not only Jeremiah, but the bombshells that came in. That is atrocious. You guys already know that. I said that in the last video. Once again, go check it out. But there was a reason why she got to that point, and it was because of Jeremiah withdrawing withdrawing while simultaneously like saying that he was all in, and it was confusing her, and she was like literally just in this fairy tale romance like novel, like, oh my gosh, he's declared me from the second that we've met, like, this is it, this is in game, like, I'm gonna have happily ever after right off into the sunset with Jeremiah, and he's gonna be a cool person for my daughter to look up to. And then he was doing that. So you guys see why she crashed out the way that she did. Anyways, so because of that, I have to put him in the let me pull you for a chat, babe, because there were things that you did to contribute to it. It was not just all Huda. There are better ways that you could have moved in that relationship and in future relationships if you ever get in that position. And when it came to Andrina, I do see what some of the boys were saying, that he was kind of repeating the cycle. But at the end of the day, we're going to get to this, but I do think that the boys were just jealous, and that's why they voted him off. Because if y'all really were his boys and y'all really just wanted to see him like try again and do better, then you should have given him more time and voted out Austin, who literally had no connection. So voting out Jeremiah was like kind of obvious why they were doing it. Although at times I did agree with what they were saying, they just took it too far sometimes. And yeah, we're gonna get to that though, because boy, oh boy, TJ. So honestly, I don't really have anything against TJ in terms of like he did anything bad. Um, I really don't. The only reason why I have him in this category is because how I initially described this category for me was you didn't really pull my eye in a positive sight, you didn't really pull my eye in a negative sight. You're kind of just coasting along, right? And for some of these people, it's because I thought they were good people or they were good contestants on the show, but then one situation is what ruined it for them, so it kind of leveled it out for me, and this is why they're in that category. Whereas with TJ, he was kind of just mid the whole time, and so I just put him in this category for that reason. However, I did like his relationship with Iris. I thought it was really cute and I was rooting for them. And once again, with this, the running theme of this season was let's vote out the couples that are actually strong and have a chance to make it to the finale and win the show. It seemed like at every given chance that was always happening. And although I do realize that TJ's vote out happened with like five other people, there was like six people who were gone the same night, if you guys remember that elimination. I fully thought, like, I don't know why, but I was thinking that they were all going to choose TJ. Like, all of the girls were going to do what they did with Huda. When Huda was about to get eliminated, and it was Huda and Jalen, I thought all the girls were going to rally up and stand behind TJ on behalf of their girl Iris, who was clearly distressed, and they were like literally calming her down before the elimination even happened because she was like, "Oh my gosh, what if TJ is up there?" And they were like, "No, girl, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen." Everyone's saying like they're so cute and whatever. And on behalf of your girl Iris, I just thought it's a no-brainer. They're gonna be girls, and they're gonna stand up behind TJ, and yet nobody did that. They all sent they all the girls tried to stand behind Andrina, which I get it because Andrina is actually one of the girls. So in their thought process, they're thinking we're gonna have to stand up and save one of the girls. But what would have been the logical decision, at least for me, is to save one of your girls' guys who they clearly have a future together. Like they clearly can make it out of this thing and actually like not only like just to the end of the show, but just in real life, they are going to be like a good couple. But instead, they decided to save one of their girls who wasn't having a single connection in there. And clearly, at that point in time, the guys just were turned off by Andrina for whatever reason, and nobody was reaching for her. So it was like, what would be the point of saving her in that moment? And it wasn't giving like an Amaya situation where they decided to save Amaya because they thought she didn't really have a fair chance and somebody else was going to come for her. At that point in the show, there was no new bombshells coming in. Nobody else was walking through that door. So there was no purpose of saving Andrina. Jeremiah was gone. None of the other boys liked Andrina at that point. Why are we trying to save Andrea just for her to be there? How about save TJ for your girl Iris? Anyways, I didn't mean to get on this long rant because clearly I feel a type of way about it, but I thought they were gonna save you, TJ, and they didn't, and I kind of didn't like that for you. With a smooth transition to my head's been turned. Okay. Ace. Let's say it again. Ace. If you're not getting that right, just Google a picture of the show of the contestants and you'll see that Ace has it tatted across his back in big letters, ACE, his name, because that's how much that he wants you to know. He thinks of Ace first. It's always about Ace. And we saw that this season. Honestly, look, I don't want to slander anybody, okay? I'm not here for the slander. I'm truly speaking from my own mind about how I thought about Ace throughout the show. I'm not talking about online stuff because honestly, as always, I think they took it too far this season. There were a lot of memes and AI like stuff about Ace.
Opinions. Tonight we vote out Jeremiah.
Yes, Daddy Ace. Yes, King.
And although it was funny at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, okay, y'all are kind of doing too much, just like they did with everything. So we're not even paying that any mind. I don't care about if he's short. Him being short has nothing to do why I didn't like Ace. Has nothing to do with it. Here's why I didn't like Ace from the get-go. It's because he seemed to be always thinking about what the audience was thinking. And I think that's why he was so passionate about leading the group. Maybe that's just part of his personality. He feels the need to, overcompensate for things, and he just wants to, be the loudest one and the one who's leading everyone. And that is perceived as confident, but really it's just like trying to make up for the things that you lack. I don't know. That's what it gives off from Ace. My biggest thing with him was that it seemed like he was always performing for America. And I didn't like that. And I think the reason why he was doing this is because, as I stated before, there were people who walked in the show who already had platforms. One of those people was Ace, okay? And I think he was the one with the most people who knew him. I had never heard of Ace before, but I knew a lot of people who said, "Oh, Ace is the guy that does those silly little things on TikTok." And I was like, "Oh, okay." There was moments, right, where he would be talking to the camera in the confessionals, and it wasn't really matching up with his behavior in the villa. He would be talking about Shelly and be like, "Oh, like she's this and she's that." And I don't know, it just seemed like he really like over like dramatized his emotions and how he wanted to like feel about certain people and situations when he was talking to the confessionals, but he wasn't really displaying all of that showy like carry stuff to the person when it actually mattered. And that's what I felt weird about, like the whole beginning situation with Shelly. He was kind of stringing her along. He You guys know he picked Amaya when it was like, why are you picking Amaya, just pick Shelly? Like it didn't make any sense. Then he proceeded to like bash Amaya for how she naturally behaves, like getting all mad or whatever, whatever. But it's like, why wouldn't you just pick Shelly? Like that's why Amaya was always like solid with what she was saying, because she didn't lie once. Maybe she went about it wrong by just getting rah rah rah, but we know she is an emotional person. That is literally just how she is. She's really like, she takes on emotions like to 100, and she reacts faster than most people, and you can just tell that's just how she is as a person. But Ace and a lot of other guys try to use that against her when, okay, she reacts a lot, but she wasn't wrong not one time, and you guys knew that, but all you could say was that she was too emotional. So Ace was doing a lot of that, a lot of performing. Even when it came to, which I mentioned earlier in this video, when it came to the stand on business, or not the stand on business, whenever America did the voting for who they thought was their favorite, and Amaya stood at that front of the thing both times. And by the way, y'all, I think in that challenge, because remember we voted like 10 different things and they only showed us like I think maybe 4 or 6 of them or something like that. So I think a lot of them were edited and cut out, and I think she actually stood up in that number one position way more times than we actually saw. And it was really sinking into the guys and everyone that Amaya was like our favorite, like a fan favorite, and nobody saw that coming. And Ace definitely didn't see that coming. He was caught so off guard, you could tell. And he was like, okay, you can see him actively thinking, like, how am I going to shift the narrative that I was actually an Amaya fan the whole time? And you guys saw when it came to the stand on business challenge, Ace was like still saying his piece about Amaya, but he was kind of simmering it down a little bit, even though I don't think it was called for him to even speak up in that moment, because Austin was already dogging on her, and then Zack also had his moment, and Ace chiming in as well. It was just like overkill. Like, just there's a time and a place. You don't really need to talk about it. But you could tell he was simmering it down from how he was reacting with her from the beginning. And then I don't even know if you guys peeped this, but I did. When that whole thing was finished and Amaya was trying to hold her own, and then she turned around to like leave, Ace was getting up off that bench like he was about to go after her. And I'm like, Ace, why are you going to go comfort her? Don't sit here and pretend like you truly care about Amaya when we know how you feel based off of this whole season. And I forgot who it was, if it was Sierra or it was one of the girls who was like, no, sit down. Because genuinely, sit down. Like, you just went off on her in front of all of these people. You've been talking mad about her since you've met her, and you're going to try to go after her conveniently after you know that America likes her. It really seemed like he was always just trying to play the, like, not necessarily the good guy, but what he thought America wanted to see in a contestant. He always wanted to be right about something. And that's why at the beginning, when Huda and Jeremiah got split up by America and everybody else was shocked, Ace was so happy. He couldn't even help himself but to laugh because he thought that America was seeing his side. And some people were. Some people saw Ace's side. I saw Ace's side at times, but he just did way too much sometimes. He was so invested. And it's like, why are you so invested? And a lot of people thought it was because he was, intimidated by Jeremiah and he was trying to overthrow Jeremiah. I think that has to do with it. But I also think that he was so invested because he thought this is what the audience was going to see. He thought that he was going to be a fan favorite walking out of the show because we, as the audience, were going to identify with Ace and be like, Ace was always clocking it. Ace was always in the right. Ace was da-da-da. You know what I mean? I think that's what he thought. And that's why he was giving those such passionate reactions about stuff. If you guys thought my little Ace rant was done, no, we're still going. I also didn't appreciate how Ace okay, so this is how I can explain it, right? I once had a friend who had a boyfriend that was always treating her nice with respect, treating her like just fine, like, you know what I mean, just was that perfect man for her, treating her out to things and fine dining her and just being like the perfect specimen when it came to my friend. And although that's amazing because you're in a relationship with that person, of course they should be treating that person like better than everybody else, or just, with respect. Of course we want that to happen. But when they're only treating that one person with respect, but then they're like mean and rude and change their personality and dismissive and almost like spiteful to other people, to me, that is one of the biggest red flags ever. Because yes, it's cool that you're treating me nicely, but how do you treat others around you? If you're dissing my friends, if you're being dismissive about just other people in your space, if you seemingly seem like you hate all people but only like me, that is one of the biggest red flags ever. Because what happens when you decide to, not really like me as much anymore? Are you going to keep treating me with respect? Are you going to drop this facade once you're done courting me? Like, just in general, you should just be a good person and a respectful person. And if you're not a respectful person in general, what am I doing dating you? And that's why I just didn't like Ace for Shelly. If it wasn't him trying to take control of a situation, it was him being like mean and like just, I don't know. He just had these moments where he just did too much, and it's like you seem like you really hate these people. Um but then he has this charming persona and energy about him that he was able to bring up at certain times. So it seems like he's all, cool and whatever. But I know people like Ace, and that's why I really, really could not stand Ace. That is why he's in my head's been turned, because boy oh boy, my head's been turned off him real quick. I could not see myself dealing with a personality like Ace in real life. If that's truly how he was on the show, if that's truly how he is, I honestly am scared for Shelly. The next boy that I could not stand was Chris. And at the beginning, when Chris and Huda got together, a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of y'all was really liking Chris and Huda together, and I just didn't understand why. Because Chris was only with Huda because he couldn't get Shelly. It was very clear that he didn't really like Huda. He only gave Huda a chance because he was like, you know what? Okay, mathematically, Shelly is probably going to choose Ace, and I don't want to be anybody's second choice. She's not really giving me too much attention since we returned back to the villa, so I'm just going to go with Huda because she's practically throwing herself at me. I might as well just accept it, and I'm going to stay in the show. And I think he really tried to like Huda. And I think he's attracted to Huda because honestly, all the guys were attracted to Huda, but they weren't attracted to her personality, but he really tried to make it work for the sake of just being on the show, right? And that's what I don't like about Chris, because just like Jeremiah, he was leading the girl on. And so when he did the same thing that Jeremiah did by being dismissive and like rude at times, like he literally, oh my gosh, that reminds me. There were times on that show where Jeremiah straight up said to Huda, like, shut up. Like, he said that like 3 different times. If I recall. He was like just telling her shut up. And I was like, I would be damned if a man ever told me shut up, even if it was in a joking way. That is crazy. Just being like dismissive and stuff to her, and I don't know. And yes, Huda is a challenging personality to be in a relationship with, but it still doesn't excuse these men acting out of line at times. And so I'm calling it out. And Chris, you were dead wrong for some of the things that you were doing and saying to Huda. I'm missing like my like most hitting points when it comes to Chris. I forgot like a lot of them, but I just know his overall like energy was just off and weird, and I didn't like it. And it was really clear that he really did not like that girl. When he was telling Bryan like we smushed, and it's like, did you even ask Huda if it was okay to tell people that you guys did that? And yet you're running off and telling her, like, other people that you guys did this thing. It very much seemed like he was trying to like, he completed the mission and he wanted to tell everybody like, look, I did it. And I don't like when guys do that stuff. And that's really what it was giving, like, I finally like bagged the baddie, but like didn't really care to do anything else past that. And I'm not saying that Chris is the type of person to like smash and then just leave. I don't necessarily think that was all there was to it, but I do think that it is interesting how he was kind of switching up after that moment. It was clear he didn't like her. He was freaking out when it was family day and it was time for Huda to meet his parents, which, to be honest, I think a lot of that was a show, because he was just trying to like basically communicate to her indirectly that I really don't like you like that. I don't want you meeting my parents. But I also do think he was freaking out for his family to meet Huda because he didn't want to be judged by his family. And I think that says a lot, because if you know that the girl that you're messing with is so much that your family's not going to be able to accept them, then you probably know that you probably don't accept them either, but you're just here just to be here. And then I also want to say, when it came to that final date, him trying to get Huda to break up with him for him, that gave me the ick, because I can't stand guys who do that thing where they just don't have the balls to say what they need to say, and then they try to get the girl they try to push and push and push the girl so she can do the thing when they just need to do the thing. Like, just break up with her. But you didn't want to be painted as the bad guy, so you didn't do it, which I don't think you would have. That's the funniest thing. All these guys are so worried about what America thinks and what we're thinking, but like, America was on your side, Chris, until you gave us a reason not to be. At least for me, I was on your side until you gave me a reason not to be, just by acting the way that you were acting afterwards. It was weird behavior. It was just weird and odd. And last boy for this category, and that's Zack. Do you guys remember Zack? Like, low key forgot about him, but he's on the list, so I guess we got to discuss him. Honey, the way that you tried to double back to Amaya, that so like literally that situation alone is why you're in this category, because you were so blatant about it. So not only did my camera die, but my daughter woke up in the process of that happening. That's my camera, my phone died. I recorded this from my phone. But anyways, I only had a couple more people left, so we're just gonna do this thing. And I don't have my mic because my phone is charging, and I put in the receiver through my charging port, so I can't really talk. But hopefully the audio isn't too bad, because I'm just gonna have to finish it right now. This is the only time I'm gonna be able to finish it, to be honest. So I was on Zack, and the reason why I put Zack in this category is solely based off of the whole situation that happened with Amaya. I thought that he clearly doubled back to Amaya after figuring out that she was America's favorite. And although some of the other boys, I speculated them to do this as well, he was just, she wants to talk to. He was just the most like blatant about it, and it was just like really grimy to watch, I'm not gonna lie. And for solely that reason, that is why Zack is in this category. Oh, and also at the Stand on Business challenge, when he also wanted to chime in, but he was actively in a couple with Amaya and did not voice that to her before the challenge. That was wild. That was wild, y'all. And basically said, like, well, I only kissed you because you wanted to kiss me, and you kind of forced me to kiss. That was crazy. That was crazy. So, as I did in the last video, it doesn't even matter who's in the who category. They don't even have enough for me to talk about. So we're gonna do it like this. Who's in the who? JD. Who? Zack with a C. Who? I don't know. I don't know who they were. I don't know. Apparently they were on their screens. That is it for the video. That's it. That is everyone, y'all. For me ranking everyone on this season, the boys on this season, I literally went through everyone in this cast between the girls. I have that video, and I'll link it here in this video. Make sure to check that out if you didn't. But also all the boys at this point. The only person that I didn't get was Yulissa, and I technically did cover her with all the other situations that I've listed where I mentioned her name throughout both of these videos, because there wasn't really much that she was in. So anyways, that's everything. Apparently my daughter wants to talk. She's in a talkative mood because mommy is. Say bye. Say bye, y'all. Say bye. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Oh, now she's acting shy. So can you like the video? Subscribe if you want to see more of us. And yeah, us, because my daughter really is in my videos. She kind of just always appears somehow. So say bye to the people. Bye-bye. See you later, guys. This mamacita is out. Bye, y'all.
Now when they see us in the streets,